Hello to all you web explorers. Today, we're going to dive into the most fascinating and sometimes downright bewildering corners of humanity. We're talking about families, but not just any families. Forget those classic family reunions with roast dinners and remote control arguments. We're going to explore lives that defy conventions, choices that will make you scratch your head, and realities so extraordinary they almost seem supernatural. Get ready, because we're going to present you with the 10 most unusual families that exist. Stories that will make you think, laugh, and maybe even a little scared. So, make yourselves comfortable, grab a drink, maybe not too bizarre just in case, and let's dive into a world where blood ties take forms you never could have imagined. Here we go. Number 10. The Fugate family. The mysteries of blue skin. Let's start with a story that resembles a dark fairy tale, but is very much real. Imagine a family living in the remote hills of Kentucky, USA, whose skin had a blue tint. Yes, you heard that right. Not a pale blue, no, a true azure hue, particularly visible on the lips and extremities. This isn't a question of makeup or bad lighting. It's a rare genetic condition called methemoglobinemia. It's a bit complex to explain simply, but basically, there's a problem with how the blood transports oxygen in their bodies. Instead of being bright red, the blood takes on a darker, almost bluish tint, and it shows on the skin. For the Fugates, this condition was passed down through generations due to the isolation of their community. They became a kind of local legend, a curiosity. People came from far and wide to see them, sometimes with a mixture of fascination and fear. What's incredible is that beyond this physical peculiarity, they led normal lives. They worked, married, had children. Their difference, while striking, didn't prevent them from living fully. It's a powerful reminder that what makes us different can also be a source of strength and resilience. We tend to judge quickly, don't we? But the Fugates show us that beauty and life can truly come in all imaginable colors, even blue. Number 9. Chad and Kurt Hennig brothers, the dark side of physical perfection. Let's move on to a completely different kind of family, and a story that takes a tragic and dark turn. When we think of families that have made their mark on the world, we often think of sports dynasties, artistic lineages. But the world of wrestling, or professional wrestling, also has its families, and sometimes their stories are tinged with immense pain and sacrifice. That's the case for brothers Chad and Kurt Hennig. Chad, an impressive bodybuilder, seemingly at the peak of his physical condition, tragically died on stage during a competition. A heart attack took him in front of the public. The autopsy revealed the use of performance-enhancing substances, steroids, which put unimaginable strain on his body. It was a terrible shock, a brutal end for a man who dedicated his life to physical perfection. His brother Kurt, also known as Mr. Perfect, shared a similar fate, albeit with different circumstances. Undeniable talent, a magnetic stage presence. But the price to maintain this image of perfection was colossal. Wrestling is an exhausting profession, physically and mentally. Injuries accumulate, pain becomes a constant companion. Kurt had to resort to painkillers and substances to improve his performance. The combination was devastating. He died at just 44, from a cocaine overdose, but steroids and painkillers undeniably played a role in his fragility. These two brothers brutally remind us that the pursuit of extremes, whether in sports or in the image we project, can have fatal consequences. It's a powerful warning about the dangers of substances and the pressure for perfection in a media-driven world. Their story leaves us with a bitter taste, that of potential wasted by the demons of performance. Number 8. The De Silva family, the gift of 6 fingers. A radical change of atmosphere. We're leaving tragedy for something much more. practical, and talented. In some families, what could be considered a physical peculiarity becomes a real asset. That's the case for the De Silva family. Each member of this family has something extraordinary. They have 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. Imagine that. Instead of the usual configuration, they have an extra thumb or an extra finger, depending on how you see it, and the same for their feet. You might be thinking, oh dear, must be inconvenient for getting dressed for daily tasks. Well, not at all. This family has not only learned to live with this peculiarity, but they've turned it into a real specialty. The De Silvas are incredibly talented musicians. Their extra fingers give them extraordinary dexterity and agility on instruments. They can play complex pieces with impressive fluidity. And that's not all. One family member is a goalkeeper for a football team, and his 6 fingers give him a better grip on the ball, giving him a distinct advantage. It's fascinating to see how a difference can be perceived so differently. Where others would see a disadvantage, the De Silvas see a gift, a blessing. They are proud of their unique trait and even hope it will be passed down to future generations. It's a beautiful lesson in self-acceptance and valuing what makes us unique. It makes you want to hear their musical talents, doesn't it? I'd love to hear them play. Number 7, the Manzarang family, the face that evolves. Get ready, because we're now going to address a situation that might seem a bit disconcerting, even strange. The Manzarang family, originally from Indonesia, lives with a very rare medical condition that affects their faces. It's not a disease that's visible once and for all. No, their faces literally change over time. This is linked to problems with the development of bones and muscles. As a result, their facial features transform progressively. You might see very prominent foreheads, eyes that are more spaced out than usual. Doctors believe it could be linked to a disorder called ectodermal dysplasia, but the exact details remain unclear. Their unusual appearance has attracted media attention, which is understandable. Imagine living, knowing that your face, your visual identity, will continue to evolve unpredictably. There's talk of possible treatments like dental implants, skin grafts, surgeries, but we don't know if the Manzarang family has undergone these options or what impact they would have had. This is a story that pushes us to reflect on identity, on how we perceive ourselves and how others perceive us. In a world obsessed with image and perfection, this family lives with a reality where the face itself is in perpetual change. It's a very different form of beauty in life, inviting us to move beyond superficial judgments. Number 6, Valentina Vassilieva, the most exhausted mom in history. Let's talk now about families and reproduction. We know about mothers of large families, but what follows is beyond comprehension. We're talking about Valentina Vassilieva, a Russian woman who reportedly lived between the late 18th and early 19th centuries. And her peculiarity? She reportedly gave birth to 67 children. Yes, you counted correctly, 67. How is that possible? Well, according to accounts, her fertility was phenomenal. She reportedly had 16 sets of twins, 7 sets of triplets, and 4 sets of quadruplets. Imagine the program. We can assume her husband, a strong blacksmith, may have genetically contributed to this prolificacy. And the craziest part of it all? Despite the precarious living conditions and the high infant mortality rate of the time, it's said that all her children survived infancy. It's simply astonishing. Was her goal to perpetuate her name through generations? Perhaps. Or maybe it was simply her life, her reality. We can only imagine the physical and mental exhaustion this represented. It's a story that leaves us speechless, a true feat of human resilience and fertility, even if the exact details may seem legendary today. A real motherhood superhero, if you will. Number 5, the Chauhans, the family with small bones, a big heart. Let's return to India, to the city of Hyderabad, to meet the Chauhan family. This family has a distinguishing characteristic. Almost all its members suffer from achondroplasia, a form of dwarfism. It's a genetic condition that affects bone growth, leading to shorter limbs and other specific physical characteristics. In general, this condition affects about one person in 25,000. But for the Chahans, it's a reality shared by several family members. One might think that living with such a condition represents an insurmountable obstacle. But what is profoundly inspiring about the Chahans is how they live their lives, fully, actively, and with a contagious joy for life. The parents work hard to provide for the family. The children go to school, participate in extracurricular activities. They don't let their height or their condition define them. Their story shows us that physical differences don't define a person's potential or worth. They prove that love, family support, and determination can help overcome any obstacle. It's an essential life lesson, reminding us that true greatness is not measured in centimeters, but in courage and resilience. Number 4, the never leave family, the historical standoff. Get ready for a story that sends shivers down your spine and resembles a gangster movie, but is a staggering reality. The Gray family, led by John Joe Gray, holds the record for the longest standoff with the police in the United States. And when I say long, I mean nearly 15 years. It all began in 1999, when John Joe was arrested for speeding in Texas. Police discovered weapons and explosives in his vehicle. When an officer tried to seize a weapon, John Joe assaulted him. This was followed by charges of assault and weapon theft. Released on bail, he refused to return to court. Instead, he decided to disappear. He took his entire family to an isolated 50-acre ranch in Texas, living without electricity or running water. They built a reclusive existence, training to defend their land. The message they sent to the authorities was clear: don't come looking for us, and if you do, bring body bags. For years, births went undeclared. The family remained armed and defiant. It's the kind of situation that makes you reflect on the limits of individual liberty and the authorities' response. A true saga of resistance and voluntary isolation. Number 3, King Abombisek, the monarch with 100 wives. In some cultures, polygamy is not only accepted, but it's an integral part of royal traditions. And in Cameroon, in the kingdom of Bafut, King Abombi II has taken this tradition to a spectacular level. Imagine a man with 100 wives and over 500 children. It's quite dizzying, isn't it? How is such a situation possible? Well, it's an ancestral custom. When a king dies, his successor inherits his wives. So when Abombi II's father died in 1968, he not only became king, but also the husband of his father's 72 wives, in addition to his own. In rural areas of Cameroon, polygamy is legal and deeply rooted in tradition. The older wives play a crucial role. They teach the new arrivals the palace customs and cultural values. Although modern times challenge these traditions, Abombi II believes it is his duty to preserve his people's heritage. One can imagine the logistical complexity of managing such a family. And of course, the question that comes to mind is, does he remember all 100 names? It's a daunting challenge, even for a king. It's a vision of family and power that is radically different from what most of us know. Number 2, Linda and Timmy Bannon, the strength of hands that aren't there. We'll conclude this exploration with a story of incredible emotional power, showing us that limits are often those we impose on ourselves. Linda Bannon and her son Timmy were born without arms, a condition caused by Holt-Oram syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that affects the heart and upper limbs. Imagine what that implies on a daily basis. Brushing teeth, writing, cooking, creating. Everything must be done with their feet. Linda had the incredible fortune of being raised by parents who encouraged her to do everything like her 4 siblings. She learned to adapt her body, to use her feet with disconcerting precision and agility. And this strength of character she passed it on to her son. When doctors informed her that her child would also be born without arms, she didn't panic. On the contrary, she put all her energy into teaching Timmy to navigate the world in the same way she did. Today, Timmy masters incredible skills, from art to personal hygiene. Their bond is rare in its depth. It's a dazzling demonstration that the greatest obstacles can be overcome with the right attitude, family support, and unwavering determination. Linda and Timmy are living examples that physical differences don't define who we are, but rather how we live them truly matters. Their story is a true ray of sunshine, reminding us that nothing is impossible. Number 1, the Leovs, survivors of the tundra. To conclude our journey, let's travel to the wild immensity of Siberia, where a family lived in near unimaginable isolation for over 40 years. This is the story of the Leovs, a family who fled civilization in the 1930s, seeking refuge in a hostile forest. Karp Leov, his wife Akulina, and their 4 children chose to live far from the Soviet government and their deep Christian beliefs. They built their lives in this wild nature, without electricity, without modern tools, surviving thanks to hunting, fishing, and growing their own vegetables. They had to make their own clothes from animal skins, and even their own musical instruments for entertainment. What's most astonishing is that they were completely unaware of the existence of World War II. It wasn't until after Karp's death, many years later, that they discovered an old radio and learned about the global conflict, marking their first connection with the outside world in decades. Their story is an incredible testament to resilience, adaptability, and the human capacity to survive in the most extreme conditions, while remaining connected to their values. Number 11, subscriber subject. And now, before we conclude, there's a family that, even if it's not directly in our top 10, sparks so many questions and hypotheses that it's impossible to ignore. Just look closely at this image. We see a family posing together, but their physiques are unusual, to say the least. This isn't what you'd expect when thinking of a normal family, is it? These deformed bodies, these limbs that seem strangely swollen, raise a lot of questions. Is this an extreme medical condition? Special effects, whatever it is, this image confronts us with another facet of human diversity. A diversity that can sometimes be disconcerting and make us question what it means to be human and the limits of perception. It's a visual that stays with you and reminds us that reality can sometimes surpass our wildest imagination. There you have it. We've reached the end of this journey into the most unusual families the world has to offer. We've discovered stories of courage in the face of adversity, traditions that defy our understanding, and resilience in the face of extreme challenges. What emerges from all these families, beyond their physical peculiarities or their extraordinary life choices, is ultimately the very essence of family. The bond, the love, the support, and the ability to adapt. They remind us that the definition of normal is incredibly vast, and that every life deserves to be lived with dignity and respect. So, which of these stories impacted you the most? Which one surprised you the most? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. See you soon for a new video.